Chicago, U.S. Ambassador, who is hereby represented, senior government officials here present, ZIDA Chairperson, Dr. Busisa Moyo, welcome. And then CEO Tafaza Chinabo, distinguished business leaders here present, Jamie Oliver, thank you. Ken Sharp, who just stepped out, and others here present. Members from the reps from the ICT sector, and other business players, guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the press, a very good morning to you all. It's a great honor to officiate this important business process and outsourcing breakfast forum, which brings together policymakers, investors, technology leaders, and innovators committed to positioning Zimbabwe as a competitive global destination for business process outsourcing under the theme, positioning Zimbabwe as a competitive destination for business process outsourcing. This strategic program reflects Zimbabwe's deliberate shift towards diversified, export-oriented, and digitally competitive economy. As alluded in the 2026 National Budget Statement, we must accelerate the transition from a predominantly commodity-based dependent growth model towards one anchored on productivity, on innovation, service exports, and intellectual capital. The development of the BPO sector is a catalytic intervention under economic transformation agenda. Hence, government provided specific tax incentives to promote the development of this strategic sector as presented by the Deputy Minister. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we move from policy pronouncement to implementation. No knowledge-based economy can thrive without macroeconomic stability. As government, we've delivered that, especially in the last couple of years. We intend to keep it this way. We intend to remain in single digit, and we make sure that we fight the impact of any sharp increases in the oil price, which are threatening our inflation trajectory. So, but we will make sure we will prevail with all the tools. Our main objective is also to manage our twin deficits to ensure that the exchange rate remains stable. As I said, inflation remains contained in single digit to again contain the debt burden and to make sure that we continue to build a foreign reserve. So the stability is not theoretical. We are achieving it, and this will go a long way in supporting the BPO sector that is emerging. But also, colleagues, you can imagine, when I visited General Oliver's outfit, Zimworks, I think we had just below 1,000 employees. You now have 1,700. That's a lot of jobs. That's about a year ago, frankly, when I passed through. So I'm very impressed with the speed with which we are moving. So clearly, we're creating jobs quite fast in this sector, and I think that we can overtake South Africa. Noah, I think you agree. We can overtake South Africa. Now, our GDP growth is estimated at 6% for the next 5 years. That's our target, 6% minimum. We can achieve that, and we think that this sector can contribute to that. It can also benefit from that GDP growth. We expect exports to rise to about 14 billion consistently. We'll exceed that, I think, already last year in terms of just inflows, with inflows of 16 billion, 14 billion, we're talking about the core exports. We should be able to exceed that easily, frankly. The BPO directly contributes to these objectives of diversifying export earnings, strengthening service exports, and absorbing skilled graduates into productive activity. Those graduates who are hiding in their homes because they are doing some coding for some company somewhere around the world, come out, don't be afraid. Occupy your space in one of those buildings and be part of the BPO movement. So as we designate these buildings, Tafadzo, also allow some of these lone wolves who long rangers who are, I'm sure will register companies eventually, three people working together as a company, providing a service offshore, allow them to also occupy space, create a multi-company purpose building, not just a single company purpose building. So the BPOs are no longer a peripheral component of the modern economy. They are at the core of the modern economy. Zimbabwe is well positioned in the region because of the high levels of literacy at 86.5%, wide use of English, good education. We've got about 700,000 Zimbabweans who hold a tertiary qualification. So it's a lot of people with good universities, polytechnics, UZ, NAST, MSU, and others. But at the same time, we with this a large portion of our population being youthful, below 35, we suffer from the scourge of unemployment and unemployment. So we feel that this BPO sector will go a long way in contributing to reducing unemployment. I also noticed that when you look at internet penetration, we're at 75%. On data traffic, it has grown to more than 19%. This is just growth. And the country now has over 14.5 million mobile data subscriptions. Everyone is a telephone, basically, is a mobile phone, basically. With more, everyone. If some have 3, 4, they make up for those who have nothing. So on average, everyone has a phone. So that's a good start in terms of the ICT infrastructure that is meant to support BPOs. So significant investment by telecoms operators alongside government, they led to broadband upgrades and have strengthened the digital backbone required to globally to produce a globally competitive environment for the success of our BPO sector. We are also pursuing a project, or rather to do a project where we want to launch a telecom satellite. We're very serious about this. It will cost easily $200 million. We're looking for suitors who can assist us to do this. Once we do this, then we know that our connectivity will move up several notches. We're very serious about this. As you know, we've launched 2 mini satellites already, and this will be the third one. We're pursuing this very aggressively. I remember when we first proposed in 2018. Do you still remember 2018, end of November? There was a little bit of a drought. They said, we're going to launch a satellite. Everyone said, Minister, are you crazy? This guy comes from Switzerland, he's talking satellites. People are hungry. Can you buy us some maize, please? You tell us about satellites. But here we are. We've made lots of progress. We've launched 2, and we're looking at a serious telecom satellite, which will change the telecom space as well as the television space. Those have become one. We are aware that our competitors in the region, Kenya, Rwanda, South Africa, and others, have positioned themselves in the BPO space. We are ready to compete, and we want to be ambitious. I must say that the BPO is not limited to call center activities, as you know, but it encompasses high-value analytics, financial modeling, compliance processing, healthcare billing, and digital content creation. Each 1,000-seat outsourcing facility generates direct employment and substantial multiplier effects across the broader economy. So I like the Jim Oliver's numbers of a 3 times, 4 times multiplier effect across the economy. It is also important to recognize that Zimbabwe already has a young outsourcing industry with potential for exponential growth across the country. Several enterprises and professionals are already delivering business processes and knowledge-based services to international markets. So it's happening. Some operate from small facilities, as I said, at home, while others function through distributed or virtual service models. Many have quietly built relationships with global clients and demonstrated that Zimbabwe talent can compete globally in international outsourcing markets. While most players have operated discreetly up to this point, their contribution forms an important foundation for the industry we are launching today. So I say to them, come out from homes, come and occupy spaces in the CPD and get all the incentives, frankly. The BPO framework is therefore designed not only to support new entrants, but also to provide a clear and enabling platform for the many existing participants already contributing to Zimbabwe's service export economy. Most importantly, the service exports strengthen our balance of payments because it is exports after all. Unlike heavy manufacturing or extractive industries, BPO requires limited capital imports and generates foreign currency through intellectual output outsourcing. This enhances external sector resilience and supports macroeconomic stability, aligning fully with our fiscal reform agenda. The mandate of ZIDA is to unlock potential and drive transformation. Historically, we've spoken of unearthing potential in mining, agriculture, and manufacturing services. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we extend that philosophy to intellectual capital. We're unearthing talent, analytical capability, and digital competence. BPO, therefore, represents the monetization in Zimbabwe's knowledge base. Artificial intelligence, automation, remote operations, and distributed service delivery increasingly drive the global economy. Geography is becoming less important than capability, and Zimbabwe is ready to show that. Therefore, Zimbabwe must position itself decisively within the evolving landscape. In conclusion, as I conclude, I wish to emphasize that the BPO aligns with the 2026 national budget priorities and DS2 export growth targets and the youth employment objectives and digital transformation strategies. By the way, turning to youth employment objectives, 3 years ago, I introduced these incentives for youth employment, YETI, youth employment tax incentives. And really, if the BPOs can lead in making sure we employ more youth, I'll sleep well. Because our rest of our traditional industry offer them incentives. I have not received a single report of anyone who has come forward to claim an incentive. But I know they employ a lot of 35-year-olds and under in terms of age. I'm still waiting. Who refuses an incentive? It's stunning, you know. So the BPOs will take advantage of this. This launch, therefore, marks not a ceremonial milestone, but a strategic turning point in Zimbabwe's economic diversification journey. With your support, ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabwe can emerge as a competitive African hub for knowledge-based service exports in line with the aspirations of the country's Vision 2030. I thank you, Tinotenda Siabonga Twalungwa.
If there is one thing that I have now learned about the Minister of Finance is that when he says something is going to be done, it is done. And he does it on time. Thank you for keeping time because your team has been eyeing us saying, let's get it done. Thank you so much, Minister, for articulating this framework, for showing that government is behind this and will support the implementation. But most notably, I think from our technical team, and I'm sure the chairman will give thanks to this, is to thank the Tax and Revenue Services Department, which falls under the ministry's office. I know a lot of you run away from ZIMRA. I know a lot of you don't want to see see the taxmen. But this team has been nothing but on point when it comes to discussing this issue, and we'd like to say a special thank you to the Tax and Revenue team. Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I will now call upon our chairman, Mr. Busisa Moyo, who had to move again. We were watching your flight, hoping that you get here. So it's now become a habit of ours at the agency to see that our speakers get here on time. And he's just going to give us a call of action and map a way forward for us who are in the room. And then we'll have time thereafter to have press con for our principals who are sitting here in the front. Please help me to welcome our chairperson of the board of the Zimbabwe Investment and Development Agency, Mr. Moore.
Thank you to our Director of Ceremonies. Allow me to recognize the Honorable Minister of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, Honorable Professor Mthuli Ncube. Allow me to recognize the Deputy Minister, Honorable D. Mnangagwa. Thank you, sir. The fellow board members of ZIDA, the CEO of the Zimbabwe Development Agency, distinguished guests, allow me to say all protocol observed, senior government officials here present, thank you very much. Mine is just to make a call to action, really, and give a vote of thanks. I will be very brief because I understand the minister has places to go. As we draw to a close, allow me in my capacity as the chairman of the Zimbabwe Investment Development Agency to leave you with a clear and deliberate call to action. Zimbabwe is not merely articulating ambition today. We are executing structured, investor-centric initiatives. The launch of the business knowledge process outsourcing represents a practical and implementable framework backed by enabling legislation and institutional coordination. My primary message today is the framework is in place and the agency stands ready to facilitate investors with speed, clarity, and certainty. We have streamlined investment licensing processes, established a coordinated government interface, and committed predictability under the special economic zones. And thanks to the work of the CEO and the executive team at ZIDA, ZIDA is a well-oiled machine to facilitate investment into the country and make sure that Zimbabwe is open for business is not a mantra, but a reality. And so ZIDA is a major key, a major element of that. A round of applause for ZIDA. Yes, that's right. If you don't get a round of applause, you solicit. And there you have it. There are immediate, ladies and gentlemen, there are immediate tangible opportunities, particularly within our ready-to-occupy buildings, the Joiner City. This location offers competitively priced office infrastructure, strong fiber connectivity, and access to a young, educated, English-speaking workforce, and whose fundamentals are scalable for BKPO, and knowledge-based services are already in place. I think around the country we have a lot of these. I've spoken to the minister about this. You have the high-rise buildings in Harare. There's plenty of those. But you also have a lot of factories in Gweru, in Mutare, in Bulawayo, and those can be retrofitted and converted. Some of them are lying derelict, but very good infrastructure, easily accessible, brownfield by any stretch of the imagination. So we've got an advantage. I think rentals, Mr. Olivier spoke a little bit about the BKPO stats there. One of the key elements is rental costs. And I think we've got an opportunity there to lower cost of entry into that sector. And so I'm sure our teams will be looking at some of those opportunities, not just in Harare, but around the country to see how we populate these this rust belt or these empty factory shells. Our universities and technical institutions continue to produce graduates in ICT, finance, engineering, and business services. Combined with our favorable time zone alignment with Europe and strong work ethic, which has already been mentioned, this positions Zimbabwe not as a peripheral option, but a serious strategic location for regional and global service hubs. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, my call to action today is threefold. First, to investors and property developers. Engage with ZIDA. Our teams are ready. Visit the sites, interrogate the numbers, allow us to facilitate your licensing and establishment process. Second, to global and regional BKPO operators to consider and seriously consider Zimbabwe as a strategic expansion destination. Zimbabwe is indeed open for business, in particular the BKPO sector. Establish your service centers here, leverage your talent base within a supportive regulatory environment. Third, to our domestic private sector and financial institutions who are partners in co-developing world-class digital campuses, office parks, and innovation hubs. This is not only about foreign direct investment, it is also about strengthening domestic industrial capacity and shared growth. As the strategic custodian of the agency's mandate and governance framework, I wish to reaffirm our institutional commitment to walk this journey with investors from initial inquiry through licensing and ultimately full operation. Today, we are not speaking in abstractions. The framework is established, the infrastructure is available, the talent is ready, the incentives are defined. The foundations have been laid with intention and discipline. Therefore, the question before us is not whether Zimbabwe can host competitive and globally integrated BKPO operations. The real question is, do you recognize the opportunity early enough to be an early adopter and an early majority in this particular sector? And I wish to thank the Ministry of Finance for the support that they've given. We've come a long way. I remember talking about this as a concept, but thanks to the Ministry of Finance, the incentives, the ground has been laid. We're not there yet. There is fine-tuning. I see Tinashe, his eyebrow went up when I said that. We haven't arrived, Tinashe, but we'll continue to work together with the players to make sure that this sector is facilitated and supported. And thank you, Honorable Minister, for being our CEDO. The CEDO, I see people are getting Chief Fund Officer. We're going to call you our CEDO, which is our Chief Economic Development Officer. As the Minister of Finance, it's in your mandate as well. So thank you for the progress that we've made in matters finance and the new economy. Thank you, ZimWorks, for spurring us on to good works. And this is going to encourage many others to join us and be onboarded in this new economy. And we look forward to more people coming through to ZIDA in this particular area. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank the CEO and the team for putting this together, that's what ZIDA does, bringing various arms of state together around issues to do with investment promotion, bringing FDI into the country. Well done to my colleague, Mr. Chinamo, and the team for bringing us all together. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for all the players who are in the sector. Siyabonga, tatenda, toboka, kwazo. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moyo. I did forget that one. Thank you very much for that one. So thank you to everyone who has joined us this morning, especially for those of you who are online and may have had questions or queries. Please log them into our website or just log into our social media pages at ZIDA Invest. You will find us on Facebook, Twitter, on LinkedIn, and we will revert back to you with any solutions that we may have. But if you're in the room today and you would like to find out the regulatory framework, the legal issues behind it, Teresa Mchinguri, our Chief Legal Officer, Teresa, please could you stand? I'm just going to call you guys up. She's here. She will explain the legalities behind it. Noel, who is the brains and the power with his research team, will explain the framework which the SEZ is going to be running on. If you would like, as a BPO who is in the room, to actually start the process of licensing, our chief facilitator, Felicitas, is in the room. She's here, she's waiting, and she can facilitate the process. Right now on your phone, you can start the process. And then additionally, if you would like to understand where the opportunities sit and exist, Tapindo and his team, who is in the investment promotion, sitting in the room as well. Tapindo and team, if you could just raise your hands very quickly, please. They will facilitate, they will help you. They know where the spaces exist. And then additionally, I think we have in the room for the media, our press, our communications, our corporate affairs team. They're going to help you and give you all the information packs that we've brought up today. And then I'd just like to thank the Minister and his team from the Ministry of Finance, our investors who are in the room, and I'd just like to allow them to leave the room so that they can have a short press briefing outside, and then the rest of us can go outside to network. Please make time to change and swap cards outside, and just ask who you're speaking to. You'll be surprised at who is in the room and who is doing what under the BPO framework. Thank you, everyone, and we look forward to licensing you as BPO operators in the country.
Hi there. Are you a commercial property owner looking for the next big thing? Well, here's some good news for you coming out of the national budget proposed by the Honorable Minister, Professor Mthuli Ncube, and passed
what are some of the incentives that have been implemented so that the government continues to ensure that the government is a safe and a viable investment destination?
Thank you very much. In our quest to revive the economy and move it towards Vision 2030 of being an upper middle income economy, we as government have a strategy to support new industries, a new economy, so to say. So the business and knowledge process organization economy is a new economy that we have decided we ought to incentivize for it to grow. So we've decided that we need to give it various incentives. These incentives pertain to the location of the business in the first place. A whole building can be designated as a special economic zone. So we're basically using the special economic zone incentives to support this new emerging economy, this new sector. Also, the company that is operating within that building is then also accorded special economic zone type incentives. This involves a lower corporate tax rate from 25% down to 15%. We're also giving incentives for employment for the youth. If you employ anybody below the age of 35, you're entitled to $1,500 rebate per employee. Also, we also have capital allowances in terms of import duties as well are waived. So many incentives are being thrown at this new economy sector, and we really want it to succeed. So what you'll see basically is this sector begin to occupy some of the high-rise buildings that we have in our city of Harare, also in Bulawayo, in Gweru, in Mutare, everywhere where there is space, where we think that this sector can be supported, those buildings will be occupied. We will be competing with other countries such as South Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, India, Mexico, to mention a few. But we're ready to compete as Zimbabwe. We will throw every incentives we can find at this sector for it to succeed.
Maybe, Minister, you spoke of the ICT something, the satellite for about 200 million. You actually expect to maybe the timelines and how are they going to benefit those in rural areas especially?
The success of this industry, this new industry, relies on a strong ICT infrastructure, connectivity, and so forth. So our project of launching a communication satellite is a part of this. It's about the digital economy after all. And we are trying to raise over $200 million to support the launch of the telecom satellite, which will then improve our connectivity and strengthen our ICT infrastructure. So we're talking to various potential sources of capital, and we hope we'll succeed. So we have to keep pushing. It's a new area for us, as you can imagine, how to make money off satellites. We have to present a business case. We think we've done a good job of that. So hopefully we'll succeed. So watch this space. Let's see how this goes. No, there's no time limit. No time frame. So the group picture.